Allemande, number 1 by Handel. Let's play this Allemande. We are in A major and let's analyze this. Okay, this is the first part of the Allemande. Of course, before analyzing the Allemande, you can even listen to a complete performance. I'll put another link here below with a video where you can listen to the complete performance from the beginning to the end with ritornellis and this way. Allemande, courante, sarabande, giga, minuet, corrente, passepied, courret, gavotte, lourd. Learn how to compose a Baroque suite with all its dances. Study the compositional techniques of each dance. Analyze the work of the great composers and compose 2 full suites together with me. Discover Suite and Dances, the 3rd level of the Musicus Practicus Baroque Path. Go to this link, explore everything you will learn, and start today with the free levels on the Musicus Practicus Academy free. Then choose the complete path that suits you best and get ready to compose your first Baroque suite as if you had lived in the 18th century. Now, when we talk about dances, remember this because it's very important. We have to focus on phrasing. We have already studied, or you have already studied, composition, counterpoint, partimento. So, the main analysis we'll do will be about rhythm and phrases. What's very important here consists in analyzing how many phrases we have. We have 3 phrases, 1, 2 and 3, with a total of 9 bars, something very particular for an Allemande, because as we saw, we usually have 8 plus 8. 9 plus 9, it's a little bit strange, but there is a reason of this. Then, another thing is that in the second part, we have the same number of the bars, 9, so 9 plus 9 at the end. Now, each phrase here is divided into half phrases, as you can see. The first phrase is marked, so the end of the first phrase is marked by a double line, as you can see. And the end of the first half phrase is marked here with a single line. Now, this is very important because all the patterns of the partimento method are set with phrasing. So, the Allemande is starting on beat number 4 because of the upbeat. And the first melody starts on beat number 4 and finishes on beat number 3. This way. Let's use an highlighter to make it even clearer. Then, on beat number 4 of bar number 2 is starting a new little phrase, a new segment of a phrase. Even here, from beat number 4 to beat number 3. So we can say that on beat number 4 we are starting something, we are creating tension, something which is an expectation of how the melody will be developed. This tension is called arsis, which is tension. When we create tension, we have to release the tension in writing a melody. You can do a little cadence or a little passage. Then, the arsis can be a strong arsis, and so we'll use the uppercase letter. Or it can even be a little arsis, so weaker tension, and we'll use the minor case letter, A, or in the other form, this way. When we have the release of the tension, we have the thesis, which is the release of the tension. The thesis can be a strong release of the tension, so thesis release, and we use the uppercase letter, or a weak release of the tension, weaker, which is a minor case letter. Now, it's more common to have a stronger thesis, a stronger arsis, and a stronger thesis at the antipodes. What does it mean? That the strongest phase is the beginning and the stronger other phase is at the end. So the stronger arsis tension tends to be at the beginning. Here. And then the stronger thesis, release of the tension, at the end of the phrase. So between the beginning and the end, the strong thesis and the weak thesis, we can even have the strong thesis and the strong arsis. Between the strong arsis at the beginning and the strong thesis at the end, we can even have weaker phases. For example, this is a little thesis. Here the arsis continue, and here the thesis is bigger. As you can see, stronger. Even because of the presence of a cadence. The bass is a leaping romanesca, fa, sol, la, mi, fa, sol, fa, creating the first phrase, which is 2 bars. Then the first section, half phrase, let's say, plus the following one creates a 4 bars phrase. It's very important that you start feeling this tension and release, because this is what makes a dance a dance. The rhythm is more than enough for a dance. Tan-ta, ya-tra, tan-tan-tam. Tariri-tiri-tiri, tarirara. Now, next phrase. The next phrase, and this is something which is common through all the piece. The next phrase starts on beat number 4 and finishes on beat number 3. In this case, not beat number 3 of the following bar, but it takes the double. So, beat number 3 of the following bar. That's why la sol fa mi, la sol fa mi, la sol fa mi re. It's even longer, the phrase, but the end arrives on beat number 3. And that's not the case. This way, starting a phrase on beat number 4 and ending the phrase on beat number 3, we have a balanced phrasing. Cadence to E major, which is the 5th degree of A major, so half cadence. Then another phrase starting on beat number 4 is starting, and this phrase takes 2 bars ending on beat number 3. So A plus, what does it mean? A major. Here we have a cadence in A major. You say, but it's an E major chord. Yes, but it's a half cadence, so we are in A major. The following phrase is in A major. And this is a cadence to E major, half cadence, so 5th degree, B major, which is the 5th degree of E major. Next phrase, starting on beat number 4, even here. And the following phrase is very interesting because it takes 1 more bar. one more bar, and here we have the one more bar. So at the end it's like if we have 8 bars plus one more, which is the conclusive bar. Remember that these dances tends to finish with a cadence on the downbeat, the Allemande, and then they may have another cadence which is more conclusive at the end of after the final cadence. This way. So we have the following phrase. Here should the phrase finish, but we have the cadence, and so the last phrase is different. And after this cadence, which is a double cadence, now we'll analyze even the schemata, we have a confirmation cadence. Pam, 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 pam. And here, if you count, we have one semi-minima, second semi-minima, third semi-minima, and only one eighth note. We lack of one semi-minima, whereas we will lack of one chroma, an eighth note. Where is the last one? It's at the beginning. Here it is. Pa-pam. And this is very common when we have dances starting with an upbeat. The last bar it must be completed with the first upbeat. This way, a very common thing of this style. Now, this is the phrasing. We can identify a thesis at the beginning of each beat number 4. Here we can even say beat number 1, sorry, a thesis, an arsis, a tension. Here we can even say beat number 1 because beat number 4 does not exist, it's just a little section. And a thesis on beat number 3. New arsis and new thesis here. Arsis, and here the final thesis, ta, 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 it's arriving here at the end, which is an irregular phrase, and that's totally okay. Now, I'll play again this first part, focus on the arsis and thesis. And then from the beginning. Okay, now let's analyze the schemata. Leaping romanesca, counterpoint cadence, clear. La sol fa mi, la sol fa mi. You already know that this is a feneroli because when we talked about the feneroli, I show you this Allemande, an example from the Partimento method course, chapter 6, 6.13, an example of the feneroli, this one, where we have la sol fa mi at the top, fa mi, la sol fa mi, the canon in the middle, which is actually a feneroli in the opposite way, because the feneroli, the regular feneroli should be mi fa sol la, and the long fifth degree. Here is the opposite. What's very interesting in this feneroli is that the first time we have the fifth degree in the middle, the green voice. So the red line indicates the canon, the green line indicates the long fifth degree, so you can clearly see it, and here the first time it's in the middle. Handel couldn't repeat the same thing in the same way. So the second time, the long fifth degree, it's at the top. Then it changes because it needs la, sol, fa, mi, re in the top. But here, in this bar, it's in the top. So another level of variety. And the last time, here, it's even more different, because we have 2 times the fifth degree, which is a long note at the top and a repetition in the middle. So now the shift pa, 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 mi, fa, sol, la, which is not descending anymore La Sol Fa Mi. It's not anymore La Sol Fa Mi, La Sol Fa Mi, but it's Mi Fa Sol La, Mi Fa Sol La. It's in the bass, and the alternation is in the bass too. Mi Fa Sol La, Mi Fa. The other voice is in the top, is in the middle, and in the top we have another green line. But this is not continuing as the other part. We have the engage of a 7/6 and then double cadence 7/6/4. The double cadence starting with the 7th, chapter 4 of the Partimento method. 6/4, 3/5, 3, and the resolution. This is the analysis of this cadence, of this part in terms of cadences and Galant schemata. Now we have a lot of half cadences. At the end of each phrase, we have a cadence. Half cadence, double cadence, or any other cadence, compound cadence, it's a cadence. It's very important to have cadences at the end of a phrase. Do you remember when we talked about the characteristic of the Allemande? We said that cadences are very important. Let's see, where is it, this section? All the voices, the structure, similar to the prelude, no, imitative figures, modulation give, okay, in the middle of the second part, Marpurg, the number of the bars, no, I remember, here, modulation, so modulations give to the Allemande a dynamic direction, point number 8. So interrupted or evaded cadences are always welcome, even half cadences, and cadences in general make the phrase clear. This second part of the Allemande. Let's play it. I'll play it one time. Here, in the second part, the first phrase takes the same amount of numbers from bar number, from the half beat to bar to the third beat. Beat number 3. What is interesting is that we even here start with the leaping romanesca, but then it continues in another way, ending with a half cadence, but of the minor mode. Why? Do you remember that in that we said that in the middle of the second part we need a strong cadence? Here it is, F sharp minor. Since we follow this structure, A major, 5th degree, E major, now the middle cadence so we start in E major on the 5th degree this time, and the middle cadence is in F sharp minor, so the minor key of A major, the 6th degree of A major. We have a cadence, and at the end we'll come back with a cadence to A major. This is so the path followed by this Allemande. 1, 5, 5, 6, 1. This is a very useful table to use this way. So where is the cadence? The cadence is at the end of the following phrase. Why? Because the first phrase finishes with half cadence, and then cadence to F sharp minor, ending exactly on beat number 3. Even here, the phrasing ending of beat number 3, it's something which gives to this Allemande a very balanced movement. Now, there is something else. This figuration, it's not a random figuration, but it's a figuration that Handel is borrowing from. So, when you compose a piece, even if you have something different in the bass, in the harmony, use elements in terms of figurations you have already used. Here we are not talking anymore about diminutions, but figurations, because this is a diminution, of course, of this, but a diminution which is a figure widely used in this composition. Now, this cadence, notice this cadence, look at the purple melody, is very similar to the middle voice we had before in the tenor. And now it's in the top, which is the voice moving with 7, 7, 6, 7, 6, 5, 8, La, Sol, Fa, Mi, Re, the descending pentachord. And here, Sol, Fa, Mi, Re, Do. Then the red voice, now in the middle, Fa, La, Sol, Fa, Fa, Mi, Re, Do, Re, Do, Re, the one featuring the clausola cantizans, before was in the top. La, Sol, Fa, Mi, Fa, with the difference that now the ornamentation is not the same. We can even say that the first part is very similar, but then it changes here. Why? Because we have another element which is changing. The bass of this double cadence is not anymore a long fifth degree. Why? Because this is not an ending cadence, so Handel preferred to introduce a new level of variety, making this 5, 1, 5, 5, 1. But besides these elements, the cadence is the same basic structure of the previous cadence. This is something very common. The cadence in the middle of the second part is very often the same cadence we can find at the end of the first part and at the end of the second part. Now, after this cadence, we have to do something to come back to our main key, A major. And what's the technique used by Handel? Fa. So, La, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, Mi, Fa. You can set two structural notes. Re, Mi, Fa, the red notes in the bass. Then you can even add another level of diminutions. Let's use purple. Re, mi, fa, sol, mi, fa. Okay, add one more level. Re, fa, mi, sol, fa, la, re, fa, mi, fa, sol, do, fa. And so, thanks to this passage, la, sol, fa, mi, Handel comes back to A major, and after this section, the new phrase starts on beat number 4 in the soprano, in the melody, featuring a descending scale, La, Sol, Fa, Mi, which is La, Sol, Fa, Mi, ending on beat number 3. Yes, even here on beat number 3. Mi, and the bass features Fa, Mi, Re, Do, a prinner, this way. So, cadence, La, Sol, Fa, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Fa, Do. Notice the stile brisé, the so-called stile brisé, very common of the lute, pom pom pom, where the single voice is spread, the single melody is spread between many voices. Here, tarara, tarara. Parararin, tariraran. This is the stile brisé with the arpeggio, very idiomatic, very typical of the Allemande. Fa, do, fa, fa, mi, fa. Notice the little clausola. Do, fa, fa, mi, fa. This way. very interesting thing of the last phrase, so let's use now another color, another highlighter, so red, is that this section from E major up to the end, let's listen to it. Is the same transposition, so they are the same note, an exact transposition of the phrase we had before at the end. The last phrase of the second part is exactly the same phrase of the end of the second part, with the difference that before it was from B major to E major. Now it's from E major to A major in order to finish on the first degree. Now, with all these elements in your mind, review even all of them, let's play Allemande from the beginning and focus on those elements. And so we have a complete Allemande with a very good balanced phrasing, even if we have 9 plus 9. Why? Have you understood why? Because the last bar, the 9th bar of this section, is the final cadence with the final, we can say the cadence after the cadence, so the confirmation cadence of each section. Final cadence is here, confirmation cadence is here. Final cadence is here, confirmation cadence is here. And now, with all these elements of the Allemande in your mind, let's continue our journey together, analyzing other dances, before, of course, composing our Allemandes. Every self-respecting Baroque composer wrote at least one suite with their own dances. Think of Bach's French suites, Handel's suite, or harpsichord partitas by other great composers. Composing a suite is a true challenge. Each dance has its own rhythms, phrasing, style, and unique character. And if you don't study how each one works, you risk writing an Allemande that sounds like a gavotte, a French courante that feels like a sarabande, or a minuet that turns into a passepied. No, no, no! What you need is structure, method, and the right knowledge. That's why I created an entire level on the Musicus Practicus Baroque Path dedicated to composing a complete Baroque suite with all its dances. The dances you'll study include Allemande, sarabande, menuet, gavotte, bourrée, French courante, Italian corrente, passepied, lourd, French jig, and Italian jig-up. Each dance is introduced in a carefully structured didactical order, and for every one of them I've designed a target learning method, the most effective one I've used and I use in my one-to-one lessons, which has helped students achieve faster and more solid results. First, we studied the compositional elements of each dance, rhythm, phrasing, and structure. Then we analyzed many real examples from different composers so you can learn directly from them and be inspired by their work. Finally, the active part. We composed 2 full suites together, writing 2 dances for each type, one in B flat major and the other one in B minor, to explore the expressive richness of both major and minor modes. All of these and much more in the 3rd level of the Musicus Practicus Baroque Path, Suite and Dances. Click the link to download the free ebook on Suite and Dances and to explore the full content. Then get started with the 3 levels you can find on the Musicus Practicus Academy free. Then choose the complete path that suits you best and get ready to compose your Baroque suite as if you had lived in the 18th century.